please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our
Vanderschaft claimed he had anxiety, was unable to control himself, and not the most calm. Second recent infant abuse case involving father. Vanderschaft is the second Greene County father accused of shaking his infant son in unrelated cases in recent weeks. Kenai Kelly, 19, is charged with Class B felony of child abuse. He was arrested and booked in Greene County August 7th. He is accused of intentionally shaking, striking, and dropping his 6-week-old infant face first on the hardwood floor. The baby's mother, Star Vesey, 19, is charged with Class B felony of first-degree endangering the welfare of a child, serious physical injury. She is accused of waiting nearly 5 hours to call 911 for her infant child who had been unresponsive. Kelly's and Vesey's infant son survived but is still hospitalized at Child's Hospital in St. Louis. A relative confirmed to the Daily Citizen on Monday, August 24th, that the infant's condition is improving every day.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. After 44 years behind the mic, Mike Smith is still introducing us to seldom heard music. For many, the Saturday evening show on KSMU is appointment listening. For host Mike Smith, health issues have slowed him down, but the show is still a labor of love, by Kathleen Odell. Springfield's voice of bluegrass in the Ozarks has never played a lick on an acoustic guitar during his 44 years on the radio, and after all this time, you may not even know his face. But KSMU radio station listeners recognize the voice of retired news director Mike Smith, who spins traditional mountain music and new bluegrass as host of the long-running Seldom Heard Music Show every Saturday night on Ozarks Public Radio, FM 91.1. KSMU is the NPR affiliate on the Missouri State University campus. Seldom Heard, considered the longest-running bluegrass show in Missouri, is also live-streamed for bluegrass-living listeners across the globe. Since January, faithful KSMU listeners have noticed an hour less of Seldom Heard music. Treatments for recurrence of an aggressive cancer led Smith, 72, to trim his original 2-hour format to 1 hour, 7 to 8 p.m. Saturdays. His first bout of cancer in 1999 and other medical issues prompted him to retire as full-time news director in 2006 to heal and focus on Seldom Heard. No slacker, Smith hasn't skipped a week of production. The 5 hours of prep now takes over 3 hours of research and studio recording to produce a single commercial-free show. With musical roots playing jazz trombone, Smith never learned to strum a guitar or pick out a tune. I tell people I pick ticks, and that's it, he jokes during a break in the KSMU offices of MSU Strong Hall. What he has picked since launching the program in 1982 is a weekly sampling of new releases, old-timey tunes, and insider stories about the featured artists. He celebrates their birthdays and promotes upcoming bluegrass events, where you'll often catch him in person. Rachel Knight, general manager of KSMU and Ozarks Public Television, describes Seldom Heard as appointment listening. People across the Ozarks tell us they make a point of turning on the show, she says. Artists listen too, often sending a Facebook shout-out to Smith. Hey, thanks for playing my stuff. The show once inspired Meredith Sisko, the late Ozarks folklorist, storyteller, author, and musician, to feature the song Gone Away on the 2013 Blackberry Winter Band album Still Standing. She explained in the liner notes, originally from a poem written to commemorate the 30th anniversary of pal Mike Smith's public radio show, Seldom Heard Music. He's so thoughtful in the way he puts the show together, Knight says. He strikes this balance between creating this welcoming front door to folks who are very unfamiliar with the genre, but then anyone who's really steeped in the culture and knows a lot about bluegrass is going to catch some really fun kind of winks and nods in every show as well. A friend at the microphone. Smith begins each program with a voice that nestles comfortably in your ear. Welcome to another FM radio broadcast and digital live stream of Seldom Heard Music on KSMU and KSMU.org. I'm Mike Smith, your host and originator of Seldom Heard. Tonight's program is number 2291. I tried to just be natural, Smith says. I try to picture a friend at the end of that microphone, somebody I know, and I'm speaking to them. He laughs. I've been accused of talking too slow. You can't argue with his perfect diction. Smith served as the radio voice for longtime friend, then Greene County Circuit Judge Calvin Holden's 1996 re-election campaign. I like to tell people and Mike that when I come back in another body, I want the higher powers to make sure I have a voice like Mike Smith, Holden says. There's authority and affection in Smith's voice when he tells celebrity stories. He personally knows the performers, has emceed some of their concerts, and interviewed them. Bill Monroe, Rhonda Vincent, the Queen of Bluegrass, Earl Scruggs, Del McCoury, a gentleman in every sense of the word. At the Telluride Bluegrass Festival in the 1990s, I talked with a young Alison Krauss in the back of her small and then very old bus. Even then, she had a sharp, wry, dry, and dirty, yes, dirty, sense of humor. The Dillard's effect. How did a kid who came of age in the 60s and never strummed a guitar find happiness in bluegrass? Call it the Dillard's effect. Growing up, Smith followed the real-life country, rock, and progressive bluegrass band from Salem, Missouri, which gained national attention appearing on the Andy Griffith Show as the fictional musical family The Darlings. When his father left the West in 1967 to run a lead mill in Salem, hometown of the Dillards, Smith became friends with the parents, brothers Doug and Rodney Dillard, and bandmates Dean Webb and Mitch Jane. The band still performs as the Dillards with surviving brother Rodney and airs on Seldom Heard. Smith also discovered others like innovative acoustic flat-picking artists Tony Rice and David Greer. You know, all these players that could do so many wonderful things. The sound drew me in. I love the wires and the wood instead of the electric sound, he says. I don't believe there would have been a bluegrass program at KSMU if not for my interest in the music, which began in the very early 70s, Smith says. A big part of that was discovering the Dillards were from Salem, researching their music, and getting to know them personally before coming to Springfield, which led me to pitch the program to Arlen Diamond, then KSMU general manager. The road from Salem to Seldom Heard. Smith played trombone in high school and college bands, but he later ditched his music studies after 2 years at Mineral Area College in River Mines. I found out quickly that I wasn't good enough to play professionally and make a living, and I didn't want to teach beginning band. He returned to Salem for work he'd sampled as a teenager, becoming full-time announcer at KETU-FM, the news director at KSMO-FM. In 1975, he joined the U.S. Navy and served until 1977 as a submariner on the USS Queenfish, Submarine Service Nuclear 651, based in Pearl Harbor. The Cold War and Vietnam were over, but his sub, an intelligence-gathering platform, found itself near the coast of the Soviet Union, engaging in operations that Smith declines to discuss. A knee injury later while on duty sidelined him, and Smith returned to Salem until his formal discharge. It offered time to float Ozark's streams, but he soon heard his inner voice while on a job stripping bark off pine poles. We're going to have to do something else. He enrolled at Missouri State University on the GI Bill in 1980 and before long became a student announcer at KSMU. Just 2 years later, Smith parlayed his hard work reputation and bluegrass know-how into his own program, A Regional Impact. Smith's influence at KSMU grew with the station, which had signed on in May 1974 as a listener-supported radio station licensed to MSU, then Southwest Missouri State University. Once transmitting from a distressed two-story house on National Avenue, KSMU has become a major regional network serving southwest Missouri and northern Arkansas. In 1998, the station moved its permanent studios and offices to Strong Hall. In those years, Smith worked as chief announcer, content coordinator, then senior producer and news director, all at the same time. He also hired, trained, and supervised students at the station. He worked several firsts. First station using pre-recorded digital audio tapes, first one, except Chicago, in the 5-state region to play CDs, first DJ in America to play the soundtrack of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? KSMU colleague, the late Missy Shelton, saw the film's pre-release in 2000 while traveling in Paris, bought and gave the CD to Smith, who spun it for listeners before the movie's U.S. debut. Mercury Records sent a Dapper Dan 10-packaged CD soundtrack as a thank you. He's proud of years hosting the KSMU Silver Dollar City Bluegrass Youth and Bluegrass Band Contest. He and D.A. Calloway, then Silver Dollar City Entertainment Director, created the 2-day competition in 2002 and helped boost the careers of budding musicians. Mandolin player Harry Clark is with the popular band East Nashgrass. The Ozark Mountain Music Association now runs the competition in Branson. Smith shares KSMU's notable awards, including 3 national and 17 regional Edward R. Murrow Awards from the Radio Television Digital News Association. He produced or co-produced 3 of the original winners. He also won a first place Missouri Broadcasters Association award in documentary public affairs for a KSMU Making a Difference series program. He also shares a 44th on-air anniversary with Lee Warman, host of The Gold Ring, music from the Celtic traditions. In 2016, he was selected for MSU's Wall of Fame for his impact on the university students and community. And in 2022, the Springfield Regional Arts Council honored his role in music in the Ozarks with the Regional Impact Ozzie Award. Attendees at the Saturday Gala had to miss that week's Seldom Heard. It was airing on KSMU as Smith received his Ozzie. This year, he married longtime companion Colleen Smith on August 6th, a Thursday. When you think about bluegrass music and folk music in southwest Missouri, there is just a handful of people who diligently work to preserve the history of all this music throughout our area, says loyal listener Holden. In my opinion, without Mike Smith, we would have lost a lot of history and good music in this area. The voice of bluegrass in the Ozarks doesn't claim to have sparked the region's romance with bluegrass. Springfield and the Ozarks had, long before I got here, a very large, knowledgeable, appreciative, and in many cases musically talented fan base of pickers of traditional and contemporary bluegrass, including the folks around here who, for years, head to Winfield, Kansas for the Walnut Valley Festival, Smith says. Word of mouth about the KSMU show would spread within these groups, which connected the show to our loyal listeners. The film and soundtrack of Bo Brother We're Out There drew further attention to the music, he adds. And thanks to our live stream at ksmu.org, we've got folks tuning in from coast to coast, Europe and Asia. That said, the quality and intricacy of music played with wires and wood is what brings an ever-increasing fan base worldwide, Smith says. There's some virtuoso players out there, including Bella Fleck, Sierra Hull, and Billy Strings, who are continually bringing younger audiences into the fold. He has his sights set on one day interviewing Strings, a true flat-picking phenomenon. On a recent Saturday night, as the studio clock cleared 7:59 p.m., Smith closed out the session with Bella Fleck's adaptation of George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Bluegrass. With another playlist for his archives, Smith signed off the way he often has for the last 44 years. Thanks for listening to Seldom Heard Music. Stay tuned on KSMU. Editor's note, this story has been updated to correct a misspelled name.
Springfield cannabis workers won a union contract after a lengthy process. Rebecca Rivera's Missouri Independent. It's been nearly a month since Key Cannabis dispensary employees in Springfield ratified their first collective bargaining agreement that includes wages increases, bonuses, and additional time off to workers. And employees are feeling pretty high. Now that the contract has been ratified, we're rocking and rolling already, said Sally Powell, a retail associate at Key Cannabis Dispensary. We already got our raises. Our personal time off is taking effect. Bonuses have been handed out, and job security is in place. Powell was among the employees who in 2022 voted 6-3 to unionize under the representation of the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 2. The agreement is a milestone in Missouri's still young marijuana industry, where dispensaries have proliferated since recreational sales began in 2023. But organized labor has made only limited inroads. The Springfield workers are just the second group of cannabis employees in the state to secure a union contract, and their 4-year path to one offers a glimpse at how difficult it can be to turn successful organizing vote into tangible workplace protection. The delay was partly because the previous owners, Bloom Medicinal, sold the dispensary in January 2024 to Elevate Cannabis. Nico Pinto, chief legal officer for Elevate, said it was a unique situation because the company was thrown in the middle of the unionization process as part of its acquisition of a few facilities from Bloom. A lot of what we settled on is not much different than what we do as an organization, Pinto said, but I respect the right of everybody to want to be represented by a union if they so choose. I'm happy we could come to an admissible agreement. While the company has a merit increase system in wages, Pinto said the store's employees were on hiring freeze during the lengthy collective bargaining process. We need to get through the entire collective bargaining agreement negotiation before we could make any adjustments to compensation, Bento said. So the increase that was given them was really more of a true up to get them to where they felt they would have been had they not chosen to unionize. The ratification bonus was similarly something the company decided was the right thing to do. They had gone over 2 years without getting a wage increase, so we wanted to find a way to properly compensate them for that kind of 2 year delay. Powell said the contract creates more stable scheduling, clearer disciplinary guidelines. One of the most important provisions for Powell were the non discrimination, anti harassment, and inclusion protections. With the cannabis industry just being a super inclusive industry as is, she said, it is nice to just have some extra language to protect that. Being gay myself, we have quite a few gender fluid people in our facility. It's just been great to be able to be your true self and not have to worry about who you are. Elevate Cannabis is owned by a group of family and friends based out of the Kansas City area, he said, and the company has 14 dispensaries, 2 manufacturing and cultivation facilities. It is among the largest cannabis company in Missouri. Another reason it took so long to get a union contract ratified, Pinto said, is because the labor negotiation process. It def it defi- definitely a is definitely a little old school. Everything is in person, he said. You're trading drafts back and forth in person. It's not like a typical, sale or acquisition where you're exchanging red lines and can bang it out in a couple weeks. However, Pinto commended the union representative Saul Guerrero for being reasonable and easy to communicate with. Chad Price, UFCW Local 2 Director of Collective Bargaining and Retail Servicing, praised the workers for their hard work and dedication. We want to welcome them to our union family. Together, we will continue building contracts that improve lives and strengthen our workplace for years to come. In other news, Missouri prepares for final marijuana microbusiness lottery with new rules. Missouri received nearly 900 applications for its final round of marijuana microbusiness licensing, with the Missouri Lottery scheduled to draw applicants on September 9th for 77 available licenses. But unlike the entrepreneurs selected in the program's first 2 rounds, this year's applicants will enter a system reshaped by 2 years of growing pains and dozens of license revocations. Jimmy Poe, owner of 816 dispensary in Plato City, was among the first microbusiness license selected in 2023. 2 years later, he opened Missouri's first operating microbusiness dispensary. It was definitely a long journey, Poe said during the Missouri Division of Cannabis Regulation's latest podcast episode. It was a journey that round 3 people are not going to have to go to. The microbusiness programming was established through the 2022 constitutional amendment voters approved to legalize recreation. It was designed to expand opportunities for marginalized or underrepresented individuals to participate in the state's regulated marijuana industry. As part of the DCR Out Loud episode, Poe spoke with Leslie Terrick, the division's chief equity officer, about the evolution of the program since its inception in 2023. This is the third and final lottery for microbusinesses, where the state will issue at least 29 wholesale and at least 34 dispensary licenses to meet the constitutional requirement of 144 total micro licenses. Poe was one of the pioneers of the micro businesses industry, Tarek said, and as of August 18th, there are 21 operational micro business licenses, 5 dispensaries, and 16 wholesales. These companies heavily relied on each other to learn and grow their businesses, Poe said, so it's important for new owners to build relationships right away. That's one of the great benefits of the microbusiness program, Tarek said, is that it is really a community. Tarek, who oversees the microbusiness program, also stressed that the winners should also develop a relationship with their compliance officers so that they understand the new rules put in place in May. The rules cannabis regulators proposed in 2024 after they revoked numerous licenses due to unconstitutional ownership deals. I think it's really important too for licenses, she said, both current and future applicants to understand any sort of arrangement or arrangements that you are trying to get into, including DCR, with those so that we can make sure that you are remaining compliant. The new rules governing the micro business program provided a deeper explanation of what it means to majority own and operate a license, which was a requirement in 2022 constitutional amendment. They allow regulators to complete an extensive review of potential ownership arrangements before the licenses are issued, rather than afterwards. And they mandate the regulators communicate directly with majority owners, not consultants, and that applicants take a course on compliance before applying and after receiving the license. When Poe was 20, he said he got slapped with a non-violent marijuana charge. I had this so-called friend get in trouble, Poe told Turek, and he wanted to get out of trouble, so he hooked me up with an undercover cop and told me it was his uncle. He ended up selling 12 pounds of marijuana to the undercover cop and did 14 months in prison. I was dating my wife at the time, and I remember telling her that, hey, do this bit with me, and I promise I'll never sell marijuana again. And I never did until here we are, selling marijuana together in the dispensary under a state license. August 4th was the 20th anniversary of the day he got busted. Now his charge is an important part of his business story, and has also made him eligible to apply for micro business. I remember when I first won the license, I was like, I'm going to be the first to open, he said. That was my goal from the time I won the license, and I also wanted to make my mark within the industry, so I felt like I achieved these goals. While it took 2 years instead of the 6 months he anticipated to open, Poe stressed that it won't be as hard for these new winners. There's a lot more people that are coming online, he said, and there's a lot more stuff out there than when I first started. There were a lot of gray areas, and people were still trying to figure it out. When he opened his doors, people thought I was crazy. He only had 9 different strands of what the industry calls flower or dry weed in containers. Now he has 32 different strains of flower, disposable distillate carts, multiple different dabs, 12 different pre-rolled joints. His menu started as 1 page and now it's 8 pages long, so things have grown tremendously in a year. We're still lacking on the manufacturer side, Poe said, of the micro-business community. The manufacturing and equipment and the know-how people are still trying to figure that out. Turek said before Missouri Lottery draws the winners, cannabis regulators will vet the applicants for basic things like making sure no one has applied twice and application fees have been paid. It does take a little bit of time because if, for example, an application fee doesn't come through, we give that person a chance to make the payment so that they can go to the lottery. Then after the draw, Turek said they'll be in full processing mode. They will be conducting a full review of the top-down applications, making sure that all the business arrangements are compliant with state law and background checks show no disqualifying felonies. We'll start by making a phone call to reach out to the owner and say, hey, it's us, DCR. Here's your specialist with this team, Turek said. Give your specific name to contact and tell you what's going to happen in the process. If the application does not meet state requirements, then the next top draw applicant will be processed. This is part of the new rules to prevent numerous license revocations. Lisa Cox, spokeswoman for Missouri Department for Health and Senior Services that oversees the cannabis division, said the division's plans to award micro-businesses licenses from round 3 before the end of 2026. Currently, there are 46 micro-businesses from the round 1 and 2 that are active but not yet approved to operate. Poe said that that's partly because owners were nervous to open and unsure if the micro-business program was going to thrive. I've been operational for over a year, he said, and I've proven that we're going to make it.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen, how the Assemblies of God headquarters landed in Springfield 108 years ago. It's hard to overstate the AG's impact on Springfield over the last century, but the organization likely wouldn't have landed here in 1918 unless businesses stepped up to raise $200 by Mike O'Brien. There's a black and white photo of a 2-story building that says the General Council Assemblies of God at the top of the building, and then underneath the second-story windows it says the Gospel Publishing House. The former grocery business building at Pacific and Lyon that the AG purchased in 1918 to serve as its headquarters and printing facility when moving to Springfield from St. Louis. It was enlarged 5 times over the following 30 years until replaced by a new purpose-built printing plant 2 blocks southeast that continues in operation today. Photo from AG Archives. Ozarks Echoes explores notable places and faces in the region's history. Every month, a new story will highlight how the topic echoes into the present, creating an impact that spans from its start to the modern day. A policeman's curiosity and helpful nature played a significant role 108 years ago in bringing to Springfield the headquarters and publishing operation of what has grown into the world's largest Christian Pentecostal group, the Assemblies of God, with more than 88 million members today. Officer Harley A. Hinckley was walking his familiar Commercial Street beat in May of 1918 when he noticed two unfamiliar fellows peering in a window of an unoccupied business building. He caught up with the strangers and learned that they were leaders of the fledgling assemblies who were looking for a suitable site to relocate the AG offices and printing plant from St. Louis. Hinckley conducted the visitors on a tour of Commercial Street, then steered them a block south to the intersection of Lyon Avenue and Pacific Street, where on the southeast corner stood a two-story brick building that had housed a wholesale grocery company. They were impressed because it had a very thick concrete floor that was solid enough to support the weight of printing presses, explains Jeline Turnage, now retired after 4 decades as the AG Communications and Public Relations Director. Officer Hinckley pointed the pair to the building's owners, who offered to sell it for $3,200. However, the AG scouts had been given a strict spending limit of $3,000. They couldn't budge, and the owners wouldn't. There's a black and white picture of a police officer with a mustache and a polka-dotted tie and a white shirt and a uniform coat. It says Springfield police officer Harley Hinckley in 1918 helped Assemblies of God officials from St. Louis find a new home for AG operations in Springfield near his Commercial Street foot patrol beat. He also helped encourage nearby merchants to pitch in $200 needed to meet the purchase price. Photo from the AG archives. However, the officer approached business owners on Commercial Street and collected donations to cover the difference, says Mark Forrester, the current chief of AG Communications. The officer's kindness was one of the key deciding factors that brought the AG to Springfield. In a June 1949 tribute upon the death of Officer Hinckley, the Springfield News and Leader agreed. Had it not been for his interest, the giant gospel publishing house might be located in Joplin, where the church representatives planned to go if they failed in Springfield. The AG's current General Superintendent, Doug Clay, continues to credit the local businessman's bridging of the purchase price gap with sparking an enduring relationship between the Assemblies of God and the Springfield community that we have proudly called home since 1918. The move from St. Louis was immediately celebrated on the front page of the June 1st, 1918 issue of the Christian Evangel newspaper. So here we are in salubrious Springfield, right on top of the Ozark Mountains, out from the dirt and din of a great city, enjoying the pure air of a beautiful place that seems more like country than town, shouting the praises of God. The August 10th, 1918 issue of the same AG paper offered practical praise for its newly adopted hometown, describing Springfield as ideal for distribution of gospel publishing house products because it was a good railroad center with 3 branches of the Frisco converging into Springfield from the southwest. There are also 2 roads coming in from the southeast, another from the northwest through Kansas City, and still another from the northeast from St. Louis. The AG quickly became the greatest contributor to outgoing mail handled by the U.S. Postal Service in Springfield. It was noted in 1960 that 6 tons of fresh-off-the-presses publications were shipped from the Gospel Publishing House loading docks daily. There's a picture of 2 gentlemen one in a tan trench coat, the other in a dark wool coat, both with hats. One guy has a mustache. It says, Eudorus Neander Bell left, a former Baptist pastor, and J. Roswell Flower, who was raised a Methodist, migrated to the Pentecostal movement in the early 1900s and were named leaders of the New Assemblies of God in 1914. Bell, the first general superintendent, and Flower, the first general secretary. They engineered the AG's move to Springfield in 1918, and Flower served 4 terms on Springfield City Council in the 1950s and early 60s. Photo from AG archives. The AG had been formed only 4 years prior to the move to Springfield at a gathering in Hot Springs, Arkansas, of some 300 Christian Pentecostal preachers and congregants from 20 states. The purpose of that 1914 Constitutional Convention was to loosely organize various Pentecostal groups around the country. The goals were to define and formalize doctrine, establish ministerial credibility and accountability, and coordinate funding of far-flung missionary efforts, all while preserving the independence of individual congregations. The AG is somewhat reluctant to even call itself a denomination, as do most other Christian church groups. Cooperative fellowship is a preferred descriptor. Local church autonomy, rather than national or international top-down hierarchical leadership, is a crucial tenet of the organization. The AG is guided by its general council, made up of licensed ministers and lay delegates from affiliated churches. Traditional titles such as bishop are eschewed, as evidenced by Clay's title of general superintendent, an office filled by vote of the general council every 4 years. A proposed edit to the AG Constitution in 1925 referred to the general council as the governing body and would have designated the top 2 officers, president and vice president, but it was rejected after vigorous debate. At a 1927 convention in Springfield, a name change was proposed from Assemblies of God to Pentecostal Evangelical Church. Proponents felt that new name would better describe the organization, but after votes were tallied, the name remained the same. Pentecostal refers to the belief that an individual's relationship with God is a direct personal experience. Practices include water baptism, speaking in tongues, divine healing, and expressive, joyful worship services. Evangelical refers to the requirement to personally accept Jesus Christ as one's Savior, aka to be born again, reliance upon Bible-based teachings and authority, and spreading the faith by active missionary work. Indeed, the AG has spread. From a few hundred congregations in 1918, AG churches today number some 450,000 worldwide, including almost 13,000 in the U.S., and of the 88.9 million total members, more than 3 million live in this country. There is a constant stream of missionaries dispatched from or returning to Springfield, even in remote corners of the planet, says Clay. Many have come to associate Springfield with hope, compassion, and generosity. At the time of the 1918 move from St. Louis to Springfield, the headquarters and printing plant had only a dozen persons on the payroll. Today, there are more than 1,000 employees in those 2 facilities, with hundreds more in other AG operations here. One of the first of many ancillary enterprises added the AG's footprint in Springfield came in the early 1920s when Central Bible Institute, CBI, was founded in order to prepare ministers and missionaries to lead AG congregations and outreach efforts. Again, the commercial street business community stepped up. Members of the commercial club paid $5,350 for 15 acres of wooded land at what today is the northeast corner of the intersection of Grant Avenue and Norton Road, just east of the main entrance to the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds. The tract was then donated to the AG with the stipulation that development of the property into an educational campus had to take place within 5 years. AG leaders accelerated that timeline. Within 2 years, an impressive brick structure had been built at a cost of $100,000, almost $2 billion in today's dollars, containing classrooms, administrative offices, and dormitory rooms. CBI actually had begun instruction on a small scale in 1922 in temporary classroom facilities set up in the basement of Central Assembly of God Church in the 1300 block of Boonville Avenue. When the campus opened in the fall of 1924, enrollment was 120 students, slightly above the designed capacity, with another 200 applicants having been turned away due to lack of room. AG leaders, with encouragement and assistance from the commercial club, immediately began planning a capital campaign to raise funds for expansion of the school, a process that was repeated in the following decades. CBI's name was expanded to Central Bible Institute and Seminary in 1948. The acronym was changed altogether in 1965 to CBC for Central Bible College. In 2013, CBC was blended into Evangel University, which also includes the Assemblies of God Theological Seminary that was founded in 1972. Evangel had come into being in 1955 as Evangel College, a 4-year liberal arts institution, after the AG acquired 60 acres of the former site of the U.S. Army's World War II era O'Reilly General Hospital in the 1100 block of North Glenstone Avenue. The school's initial enrollment was about 150 students. Today, the head count is about 2,700 students, and since 1998, the name is Evangel University. The O'Reilly grounds and structures weren't the only military surplus that the AG obtained. In 1948, the AG acquired a Curtiss C-46 Commando airplane, a twin-engine workhorse that had transported troops and cargo during the war. Christened the ambassador, the plane hauled missionaries and supplies to destinations as far away as Africa over the next year. In 1949, the C-46 was sold, and it was replaced by a four-engine Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress bomber that had been converted to passenger configuration and was better suited for ocean crossings. The B-17, designated Ambassador 2, flew in and out of Springfield regularly for 2 years until commercial air service was deemed to be more practical than maintaining the old bomber. Meanwhile, the original AG investment in Springfield continued to grow. The former grocery building was expanded 5 times between 1918 and the 1940s, when eventually the administrative offices and especially the printing facilities outgrew the building altogether. In the mid-1940s, the AG purchased a 5-acre tract 2 blocks away in the 1400 block of Boonville Avenue, plus some adjacent lots around Campbell Avenue to the west. The property previously had been the site of an amusement park known as White City and then a minor league baseball stadium. Plans were drawn up for a state-of-the-art home for Gospel Publishing House with room for 13 modern presses plus machines to fold, bind, and address printed products at a projected cost of $1.5 million. An estimated 200,000 Sunday school children in AG congregations throughout the nation collected and contributed coins toward the project. Construction began in March of 1948, and the plant's employees, about 250 at that time, began churning out AG newspapers and other periodicals, instructional pamphlets, hymnals, a variety of inspirational books, and other printed products from there in late 1949. It was hoped that another modern facility could be built within 2 or 3 years to allow the headquarters staff to also move next door. However, it took more than a decade to make that happen, and the cost doubled to $3 million in the meantime. Ground was finally broken, and construction started on a new 4-story, 156,000 square foot office complex facing Boonville Avenue in August of 1960. Occupancy began in the spring of 1962. This building, beautiful as it is, has not been erected to the glory of any denomination, nor to any man or group of men. Thomas F. Zimmerman, the general superintendent at that time, told more than 600 persons attending an elaborate dedication ceremony has been erected to the glory of God. The headquarters building was rededicated this June upon completion of an extensive renovation that opened up and brightened the interior office and meeting areas and added a cafe, coffee shop, and 2 new elevators. Springfield has been very good to the Assemblies of God, says former AG spokesperson Turnage, and I believe that the church has been good for Springfield too.
This day in history, August 25th, the year was 1914. Germans burned Belgian town of Louvain. Over the course of 5 days, beginning August 25th, 1914, German troops stationed in the Belgian town of Louvain during the opening month of World War I burned and loot much of the town, executing hundreds of civilians. Located between Liège, the fortress town that saw heavy fighting during the first weeks of the German invasion, and the Belgian capital of Brussels, Louvain became the symbol in the eyes of the international public opinion of the shockingly brutal nature of the German war machine. From the first days they crossed into Belgium, violating the small country's neutrality on the way to invade France, German forces looted and destroyed much of the countryside and villages in their path, killing significant numbers of civilians, including women and children. These brutal actions, the Germans claimed, were in response to what they saw as an illegal civilian resistance to the German occupation, organized and promoted by the Belgian government and other community leaders, especially the Catholic Church, and carried out by irregular combatants of the Franc-Tireurs, snipers or free shooters, of the type that had participated in the Franco-Prussian War in 1870-71. In reality, this type of civilian resistance, despite being sanctioned by the Hague Convention in 1899 and 1907, with which the Germans objected to, did not exist to any significant degree in Belgium during the German invasion, but was used as an excuse to justify the German pursuit of a theory of terror provisionally articulated by the enormously influential 19th century Prussian military philosopher Karl von Clausewitz. According to Clausewitz, the civilian population of the enemy country should not be exempted from war, but in fact should be made to feel its effects and be forced to put pressure on their government to surrender. The burning of Louvain came on the heels of a massacre in the village of Dinant, near Liege, on August 23rd, in which the German soldiers had killed some 674 civilians on the orders of their corps commander. 2 days later, the small but hardy Belgian army made a sudden sharp attack on the rear lines of the German First Army, commanded by General Alexander von Kluck, forcing the Germans to retreat in disorder to Louvain. In the confusion that followed, they would later claim civilians had fired on the German soldiers or had fired from the village's rooftops to send a signal to the Belgian army or even to approaching French or British troops. The Belgians, by contrast, would claim that Germans had mistakenly fired on each other in the dark. Whatever happened did not matter. The Germans burned Louvain not to punish specific Belgian acts, but to provide an example before the world of what happened to those who resisted mighty Germany. In other news, though, Paris is liberated after 4 years of Nazi occupation. Same day, August 25th, 1944. After more than 4 years of Nazi occupation, Paris is liberated by the French 2nd Armored Division and the U.S. 4th Infantry Division. German resistance was light, and General Dietrich von Clausewitz, commander of the German garrison, defied an order by Adolf Hitler to blow up Paris's landmarks and burn the city to the ground before its liberation. Clausewitz signed a formal surrender that afternoon, and on August 26, Free French General Charles de Gaulle led a joyous liberation march down the Champs Elysees. Paris fell to Nazi Germany on June 14, 1940, 1 month after the German Wehrmacht stormed into France. 8 days later, France signed an armistice with the Germans, and a puppet French state was set up, with its capital at Vichy. Elsewhere, however, General Charles de Gaulle and the Free French kept fighting, and the resistance sprang up in occupied France to resist Nazi and the Vichy rule. The French 2nd Armored Division was formed in London in late 1943 with the express purpose of leading the liberation of Paris during the Allied invasion of France. In August 1944, the division arrived in Normandy under the command of General Jacques-Philippe Leclerc and was attached to General George S. Patton's 3rd U.S. Army. By August 18th, Allied forces were near Paris and worked in the city went on strike as resistance fighters emerged from hiding and began attacking German forces and fortifications. At his headquarters 2 miles inland from the Normandy coast, Supreme Allied Commander DeWitt D. Eisenhower had a dilemma. Allied planners had concluded that the liberation of Paris should be delayed so as to not divert valuable resources away from important operations elsewhere. The city could be encircled and then liberated at a later date. On August 21st, Eisenhower met with de Gaulle and told him of his plans to bypass Paris. De Gaulle urged him to reconsider, assuring him that Paris could be reclaimed without difficulty. The French general also warned that the powerful communist faction of the resistance might succeed in liberating Paris, therefore threatening the reestablishment of a democratic government. De Gaulle politely told Eisenhower that if his evidence against Paris was not ordered, he would send Leclerc's 2nd Armored Division into the city himself. On August 22nd, Eisenhower agreed to proceed with the liberation of Paris. The next day, the 2nd Armored Division advanced on the city from the north and the 4th Infantry Division from the south. Meanwhile, in Paris, the forces of German General Dietrich von Clausewitz were fighting the resistance and completing their defenses around the city. Hitler had ordered Paris defended to the last man and demanded that the city not fall in Allied hands except as a field of ruins. Clausewitz dutifully began laying explosives under Paris's bridges and many of its landmarks, but disobeyed in order to commence the destruction. He did not want to go down in history as the man who destroyed the City of Light, Europe's most celebrated city. The 2nd Armored Division ran into heavy German artillery, taking heavy casualties, but on the August 24th managed to cross Seine and reach the Paris suburbs. There, they were greeted by enthusiastic civilians who besieged them with flowers, kisses, and wine. Later that day, Leclerc learned that the 4th Infantry Division was poised to beat him into Paris proper, and he ordered his exhausted men forward into the final burst of energy. Just before midnight on August 24th, the 2nd Armored Division reached the Hôtel de Ville in the heart of Paris. German resistance melted away during the night. Most of the 20,000 troops surrendered or fled, and those that fought were quickly overcame. On the morning of August 25th, the 2nd Armored Division swept clear the western half of Paris, while the 4th Infantry Division cleared the eastern part. Paris was liberated. In the early afternoon, Clausewitz was arrested in his headquarters by French troops. Shortly after, he signed a document formally surrendering Paris de Gaulle's provisional government. De Gaulle himself arrived in the city later that afternoon. On August 26, de Gaulle and Leclerc led a triumphant liberation march down the Champs-Élysées. Scattering gunfire from the rooftop disrupted the parade, but the identity of the snipers was not determined. De Gaulle headed two successful French provisional governments under 1946. When he resigned over constitutional disagreements from 1958 to 1969, he served as French president under the Fifth Republic.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Curtain rises for Reed School's Arts Academy and gets space to match its mission. New Reed Middle School is set to open for students this year. Its Fine and Performing Arts Academy ensures that every student gets a chance to learn about theater, music, visual arts, and more, by Joe Hadsell. The Jiffy Pop, the spaceship. Nada ship has heard several different names for the futuristic-looking polygonal bubble that bulges on the southwest corner of Reed Middle School. Ship, the school's lead secretary, has worked at Reed for 6 years. That means she has worked inside the old Jarrett Middle School building on Jefferson Avenue and in the old Reed Middle School that was built in 1923. The most common nickname that she hears is one started by the school's design team, the Jewel. We have multiple different names, Ship said. It's just so cool that it's ours. Inside the Jewel is a state-of-the-art performance space with a modern stage, updated dressing rooms, acoustics, and enough seats for almost 430 people. Its first production will be High School Musical Junior, a story about how the call of performing is too strong to resist. Kickapoo graduate Lucas Grabeel, one of the stars of that Disney movie, already got to dance on the stage while in Springfield recently to film a video for the district's 417 Reads program. The district hopes Reed will attract middle school students across the city who have an interest in studying the arts. Any student who wants to attend has a chance through SBS's open enrollment opportunities. But this is no magnet school. It's not an extension of the Academy of Fine and Performing Arts, an SBS Choice program offered to fifth graders based on a lottery system. Reed, at the corner of Campbell Avenue and Atlantic Street, will serve more than 530 students, most of whom come from Bowerman, Boyd, Watkins, and Williams elementaries. All those students will be expected to learn math and language arts skills aligned with Missouri's curriculum standards. Reed's Fine Arts Performing Academy makes the arts a mandatory part of the school experience, placing them alongside the basics. Principal Robin Collins said that there is no better spot for such a program than in North Springfield. I come from a sports background where I really thought sports were an avenue for me to get involved at school, Collins said. What I'm finding is that a lot of the kids who live in my neck of the woods do not have any opportunities to learn how to play an instrument, learn the value and cultural understanding of art and music. We can provide that to a lot of students. After 3 years, school ready to open, the new Reed Middle School will hold its first classes on August 25th, where a staff of about 73 will educate 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. A large majority of those students will advance to Hillcrest for high school. A portion of Boyd Elementary students will attend Central. Designed by SAP Design Architects, Reed was built by DeWitt Construction for an under-budget bid of $39,798,890. One of the three middle school projects in a $220 million bond issue from April 2023. Its total project cost was set at $59,484,000. The construction process has gone relatively smoothly compared to the district's two other middle school projects. It was built on the school's existing site, meaning it didn't have Pipkin's location problem. And where Pershing has had to wait for other projects to complete, workers got right to work on Reed soon after the election. The new Reed Academy offers about 129,716 square feet of building space that features wider halls, bigger classrooms, a commons area, collaboration spaces, reworked traffic lanes for parent and bus drop-offs, and modern security features. Collins said that some of the teachers have moved their desks 5 or 6 different times in their new classroom and still found plenty of room, and the brighter lights are especially appreciated. I had a whole group of people that were in the basement last year, Collins said of the old Jarrett location. Now we are in a space that has light, and it kind of regulates us a little bit. It really sets the mood for learning. Features from the previous Reed building are placed on display prominently. Reed's large front entrance and several artifacts are shown behind glass in the commons, for instance, and wood from the old gym's floor is used in the ceilings of 2 collaboration spaces. The school has a new gym that also serves as a community safe room. It features a large logo of the school's mascot, the Beavers. Collins said it's the coolest mascot in SBS. The eastern half of the building looks like other modern middle schools, including the new Jarrett and Pipkin buildings. The classrooms are bigger, the halls are wider, the lights are brighter, and the equipment is updated. Collins said the rooms have been arranged to keep grades together. It includes about 15 core classrooms, as well as 6 science rooms, a family and consumer science lab, formerly known as home economics, 2 collaboration spaces, and special education rooms. It also makes room for a food pantry service called the Woodpile and an intensive support classroom for high-need students. Behind the Fine and Performing Arts Academy, the western half of the building is where the new Reed stands out as different from any other middle school in southwest Missouri. To the left of the front door is a stairway that winds its way inside the Jewel. It leads to a media production class taught by Lindsay Davis. The classroom has several components, including a studio for recording video productions, some small production bays, and spaces for audio recording. Davis said she also had a lot of excellent gear for students, including light grids, good microphones, and cameras, and she was surprised with the installation of a green screen. Davis, the daughter of legendary Hillcrest media teacher Dave Davis, is following in her father's footsteps and is eager to prepare her students for what they could do at her dad's old school. It's cool that I get to do this here because I get to send kids into HTV ready to go, Davis said. I get to build what Dad built, but I get to do it with younger kids, and then they hopefully carry it on. Also inside the Jewel and nearby it are new rehearsal spaces for band and choir, featuring acoustical treatment and instrument storage spaces that would make SPS high school music students envious. 2 new art classrooms and 2 dance classrooms also await interested students. All those spaces are part of the education that Reed will offer its students through its Fine and Performing Arts Academy. Not every student has to take part in the academy portion. A student who simply doesn't latch on to any of its arts offerings will still have plenty of elective options, such as foreign language classes. The approach leaves plenty of room for meeting Missouri's curriculum standards. According to the latest results from the Missouri School Improvement Plan, Reed has shown growth in attendance and is making slight gains in academic scoring, gains that Collins said will improve now that the students have a new building in their own neighborhood. I'm anticipating some growth this year in math and ELA, English Language Arts, Collins said. When you give teachers the things that they need to do the best job, you're only going to see gains. But every student will get a chance to explore the arts. Collins said a student's 6th grade year is spent in an exploratory wheel, where they will study band for a quarter, then theater, etc. The most important thing is engagement, Collins said. If I don't have a kid at school, I can't teach them math or English, right? And if some of these opportunities are what gets them to school, to make a connection with their community and other students, then we're bridging the gap between the community we have now and the community we want to have in the future. What usually happens is that students find something that sticks, Collins said. After all, only the building is new. The school is not. It gives chances for art exploration that students might not normally get to experience, she said. Similar to sports, the arts expand kids' worlds. I have a lot of kids who don't leave Springfield due to our poverty range, Collins said. These types of opportunities open the whole world for them. They see the world in a different light, and it's something that they can't pay for usually because their families don't have the extra money to do so. We make that happen. They get to specialize in the things they love and really bring it home. The new school's jewel is the crown jewel in the Woodland Heights neighborhood. Across the street, Lafayette Park is being upgraded with a football practice space, track, and other amenities. The Jefferson Avenue footbridge is only a few blocks away. The Woodland Heights Neighborhood Association has taken ownership of the historic Charlie Knorr Community Center, located right across the street. Collins said the school is embracing its role as a neighborhood member. Its storm shelter capacity is almost 800, and its Woodpile food pantry is ready to help people in need. Collins said that she has been getting to know neighbors, both intentionally and accidentally. Some nearby residents now get Reed's mail because the school changed its address designation, and those neighbors are happy to drop it off at the school. Between its new features and its historic tributes, she said the jewel and everything around it will be a gem to the community. But most importantly, the Fine Arts Performing Academy will help ignite students' passion for learning. I want kids to learn a ton, and anytime I can trick them into learning anything, I'm going to take advantage of it, Collins said. If I need to, I'll trick you into how to write in drama and theater, and I'll trick you into getting more confidence as you get on the stage. Our kids have so much talent even at this age, so how do you hold kids back and not give them an opportunity to shine?
August 25th. What is today? There's actually 11 holidays known for today. First of which was the National Park Service Founders Day. Mark August 25th, 1916, when President Woodrow Wilson signed the National Park Service Organic Act, creating the agencies tasked with protecting 423 national parks, monuments, and recreation areas, covering more than 85 million acres. National Banana Split Day celebrates the Three Scoop Sundae invented by David Strickler at the Tessel Pharmacy in Latrobe, Pennsylvania in 1904. 3 scoops of ice cream and a sliced banana boat, drowned in 3 sauces with whipped cream, nuts, and a cherry. Kiss and Make Up Day was created to encourage couples, family members, and friends to resolve long-standing disputes and restore broken relationships. A 1916 act, a lunar birthday, a 3-sauce Sunday, and a reconciliation. August 25th is the 237th day of the year, and more than 11 holidays and observances fall on the date. According to this, the birthday of Prophet Muhammad is the same observance as Milad Nabi, using the English form of the holiday name. The Day of the Sungun is a North Korean national holiday marking August 25th, 1916, when Kim Jong-il is said to have begun his military first leadership. National Second-Hand Wardrobe Day encourage swapping and buying of second-hand clothing as an alternative to fast fashion. The second-hand clothing market is projected to reach $350 billion globally by 2027. And last but not least, National Whiskey Sour Day celebrates the cocktail of whiskey, lemon juice, and sugar, one of the oldest documented mixed drinks appearing in Jerry Thomas's 1862 Bartender's Guide. This page. Oh, that's it.
No.
Springfield will get additional lanes of I-44 new interchanges. Marty Mees, Springfield News leader. With the construction underway to widen Interstate 44 in Springfield for more than a year, but additional improvements are coming to continue upgrades to a major thoroughfare for the region. As part of historical investment, I-44 in Southwest Missouri will see an additional expansion and interchange remodels. Part of the statewide Forward 44 efforts, this newest project in total cost $471 million and spans from Newton County to Laclede County. Missouri Department of Transportation representative contractors with Capital Paving and Construction in Crawford, Murphy, and Tilly, and elected leaders who helped fund the project celebrated the groundbreaking of the project Monday, August 24th. The largest portion of the funding came from the state's general revenue approved by the General Assembly and the governor. Sarah Fields, executive director of Ozark Transportation Organization, said this was the largest investment in this region's history. She noted that with the Springfield metropolitan area being the fastest growing in the state, the project builds on important momentum. This project is about more than moving traffic. It's about moving our economy forward, Fields says. The historic investment in infrastructure will help fuel economic growth by moving people and goods more efficiently. But it will also create and maintain jobs in an industry that is absolutely essential to our future. What it means for Springfield. MoDOT project director Krista Bachman said the project in total encapsulates 44.6 miles of improved pavement and 18.9 miles of new lanes. In Greene County, travelers will see an added lane in both directions between Chestnut Expressway and almost Route B in the westbound direction in Webster County, and between Stratford and Route B in the eastbound direction. The widening project currently underway focuses on widening I-44 to 6 lanes in Springfield between Kansas Expressway and US 65. This new project will mean the interstate includes 6 lanes throughout the entire Springfield segment. Of the total 6 interchanges, that will be improved as part of the new project. Only one is outside of Greene County, the Fidelity Interchange in Jasper County. Improvements locally will include the Kearney Street interchange, conversion of the US I-60 interchange to diverging diamond, and operational improvements of the US 65 interchange. The Division Street Bridge will also be rehabilitated. Among the major parts of the project are updates to the Kansas Expressway and I-44 interchange, which has been increased traffic delays and safety concerns. Bachman said the project will include a southbound on Kansas to eastbound I-44 flyover ramp and a new access to the interstate at Grant Avenue. To prepare for this work, MoDOT announced nightly closures of north and southbound left lanes on Kansas Expressway, north of I-44 at the interchange between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, starting August 24th through September 24th. This effort includes eliminating the signal at Norton Road and Kansas Expressway and placing it with roundabouts to connect east and west sides of Norton, slightly north of the current intersection that passes underneath Kansas Expressway. According to MoDOT project documents, this new collector distributor system will collect a more intuitive access to Hillcrest High School, the Dickerson Park Zoo, and Ozark Empire Fairgrounds. While work for sections of improvement in Webster County is set to begin in October, Bachman said any new construction in Springfield will get underway later after the current widening work is completed. According to the MoDOT website, this is anticipated to be completed in May 2027. The total regional improvement project is scheduled to be completed by November 2031. Once construction commences, Bachman said at least 2 lanes will remain open during peak hours. She encouraged frequent travelers to sign up for the automated emails on the MoDOT project website to be alerted of any traffic changes. Focus on safety improvements. The major interstate has been in need of additional capacity for years. As traffic continues to grow, the increased congestion has made the highway less safe. Between 2018 and 2022, there was more than 1,250 total crashes on I-44 in the Greene County, 14 of which were fatal, according to previous news leader reporting. Study work that led up to the improvement project estimated that in 2050, the Greene County portion of I-44 will see average daily traffic of 63,400 cars. Bachman said that the newest improvement project will reduce the number of fatal and serious injury crashes in the southwest portion of interstate by 108 per year. State Rep Bill Owen also emphasized that state safety aspects of the project, honoring 2 lives lost on the highway. Janine Rhodes, who died in 2017, and Hillcrest High School teacher Jennifer Bryant, who was killed in a crash in 2024. Let's never forget the safety factor and the importance of it, so that we can pass through Southwest Missouri and its highways and bypass and be able to live to tell about it, he said. Bachman said the project continues to gather public input with a public hearing planned for the end of September. Updates and more information can be found on the Forward 44 MoDOT website. Virtual public meetings regarding rehabilitation of the northbound US Route 65 to westbound I-44 flyover bridge will be held between September 8th through September 22nd.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Council removes investigatory responsibilities of Springfield's Human Rights Commission. Established in 1960, Mayor's Commission on Human Rights and Community Relations has long been unable to act on its findings, by Jack McGee. Long required to investigate alleged discrimination without the authority to do anything about it, the Mayor's Commission on Human Rights and Community Relations has been given new marching orders. Some 36 years after the Missouri Supreme Court determined that the Commission does not have the authority to issue orders pertaining to discrimination complaints, the Springfield City Council on Monday, August 24th, approved a change to the city code, replacing the Commission's investigatory responsibilities with the job of conducting special projects pertaining to human rights, as assigned by the mayor. The code change also set the preferred number of members at 9, in line with other boards and commissions in the city. While the Springfield City Charter requires most boards to have exactly 9 members, it uniquely allows the Mayor's Commission on Human Rights and Community Relations to have no fewer than 5 and no more than 15 members. Changing the city charter would require a public vote. With only 3 active members, the commission was recently deemed operationally deficient as part of an audit of the city's various boards and commissions, meaning it does not currently have enough members to meet and conduct business. Why the change? Established in 1960, the commission was later charged through subsequent code changes with investigating alleged incidents of discrimination in employment, housing, public accommodations, and other areas, and issuing orders based on its findings. In one such incident, the commission determined that Yellow Freight Systems had discriminated against an employee and ordered the company to rehire the individual and provide back pay. Yellow Freight sued, and the case eventually reached the Missouri Supreme Court, which ruled in 1990 that the commission did not have the authority under both state law or the city charter to determine whether an ordinance had been violated and issue related orders. Following the court ruling, Springfield City Code was amended to remove the commission's ability to issue orders while still requiring it to investigate discrimination complaints and conciliate agreements between two parties if a complaint was found to be valid. And while City Code has also authorized the commission to issue subpoenas and the city attorney's office to prosecute discriminatory practices, the city has since determined such actions to be unenforceable. As a result, the commission has been unable to compel parties being complained against to participate in investigations. When the commission has been unable to conciliate agreements between two parties, it has referred cases to the Missouri Human Rights Commission, which does have the ability to issue orders. Like the City Commission, the State Commission is without a quorum, with only 4 of its 11 seats currently filled. However, Councilmember Brandon Jensen said at the August 24th meeting it was found that the State Commission is still able to investigate concerns of misaction. In addition to lacking the authority to issue orders, the City Commission also lacks expertise in investigating discrimination. The commission is made up of volunteers, and so they're not people who are legal experts in civil rights. Assistant City Attorney Joy Latimer, who staffs the commission, told council members during the August 10th public hearing on the proposed changes. Moreover, complaints submitted to the commission are subject to Missouri's Sunshine Law and therefore are not confidential, according to Latimer. Community-wide focus on human rights. Despite the commission's inability to issue orders and the city's position that it is unable to issue subpoenas or prosecute discrimination, City Code has continued to require the volunteer board to investigate discrimination complaints. What this has resulted in is a commission that has been trying to resolve issues with a party, one party being complained against who has no reason to participate in the process, and then it's led to a lot of frustration with commissioners, staff working on it, and most importantly, the people making the complaints, Latimer said. Councilmember Heather Hardinger, who previously served on the commission, recalled the body's powerlessness in addressing discrimination complaints during a July study session on the proposed changes. We're referring a bunch of people through different agencies to this commission that doesn't have any teeth to actually do anything, Hardinger said. So we would assist individuals with completing their application to essentially refer that topic to the state commission, but beyond that, our hands are pretty much tied to do anything. Under the changes approved Monday night, all references to the complaint process have been removed from City Code, and the commission is now charged with conducting special projects assigned by the mayor, which may originate from other council members. Potential projects could include surveys, data gathering, and reports of investigation and research. Of the commission's other responsibilities, which include formulating and implementing educational programs and making policy recommendations, only the latter was changed by requiring such recommendations first go through the mayor. And while the commission will no longer be investigating discrimination complaints, Latimer said that it would refer people to organizations that can help. In all, the changes are intended to shift the commission's focus on human rights from a micro level to a macro community-wide focus on human rights. In a return to the original function of the commission, Latimer said at the July study session. During an August 18th presentation on the audit of city boards, Assistant City Attorney Nick Woodman indicated that the code change up for approval August 24th would clear the way for council to appoint new members to the commission so that it may resume business.
Fatal head-on collision near Hollister involved Missouri State Trooper. A collision involving a wrong-way driver on US 65 near Hollister on Saturday, August 22nd, included a local Missouri State Trooper and his family. With the crash claiming 2 lives, the community is now raising money to support the law enforcement officer. According to information shared by Missouri State Troopers Association on social media, Trooper Colton Henderson was involved in a head-on crash on US 65 alongside his wife, Haley Henderson, and 2 children. MSHP confirmed that Henderson serves on Trooper D, the troop that covers southwest Missouri. Missouri State Highway Patrol crash report states that the 69-year-old woman was driving north in the southbound passing lane when her vehicle collided with the vehicle driven by Henderson at 3:55 p.m. Saturday. While the woman was pronounced dead on the scene, Henderson and his family were taken to Mercy Hospital in Springfield. According to the crash report, Haley Henderson died at the hospital Monday, August 24th. The children, 10 and 11-year-old, suffered minor injuries. According to the Troopers Association, Colton Henderson and the children have been released from the hospital. A GoFundMe has been set up to support Henderson's family through this loss and continue their recovery. As of 2:30 p.m. Monday, it has already raised more than $36,000. Those interested in donating may also mail checks to the Trooper Association by mailing a check made out to MOSTA with Henderson family in the memo to 1729 East Elm Street, Jefferson City, Missouri. Springfield man sentenced for assaulting a postal service worker. A Springfield man who assaulted a postal worker in Seminole Highland neighborhood had been sentenced to 7 years in prison. Courtney Ellis, 45, was indicted by a federal grand jury last year for assaulting a U.S. Postal Service worker delivering mail to his home in the 1900 block of South Virginia Avenue in June 2025. According to court documents, Ellis struck the victim victim on the head with a wooden board and yelled at the worker that he didn't belong here. He continued to approach, yell at and threaten the worker, who retreated to his marked vehicle. This was the first time the postal worker delivered mail on this particular delivery route. According to previous news leaders reporting, the postal service worker, who is black, told investigators he believed Ellis assaulted him due to his skin color. The worker was later diagnosed with a concussion at the hospital. Ellis was sentenced Wednesday, August 19th to serve 7 years in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release for assault of a federal employee carrying out their official duties. He had pleaded guilty to the other charge earlier this year, according to the news released by the U.S. Attorney Office for the Western District of Missouri.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Family deported to Venezuela after traffic stop in Christian County. A traffic stop near Highlandville led to a father, mother, and 4-year-old child being deported to Venezuela. The family said they complied with instructions from U.S. Border Patrol and believed they were in the country lawfully. By Zoe McIntyre. A family who fled Venezuela and sought political asylum in the U.S. has been forced to return, despite their fears of continued persecution after the Christian County Sheriff stopped one family member in traffic near Highlandville this year. Angel Acosta Ramirez, 43, was reached by phone on August 4th. Through an interpreter, he told the Springfield Daily Citizen reporter that his life since being deported has been really hard, with his family now struggling to make enough money to survive. I decided to emigrate mostly for my wife and son, Acosta Ramirez said. Acosta Ramirez once had a career as a mechanical engineer. His 30-year-old wife, Maria Fernanda Arroyo Romero, had been a nurse. Their lives were derailed after Acosta Ramirez was targeted by agents of Venezuela's dominant political regime, he said, and their journey to the Ozarks involved a month of hard travel, a treacherous river crossing, detainment, multiple moves, and 3 weeks of sleeping on the streets. Acosta Ramirez and his family members told the Daily Citizen that they applied for asylum and obtained visas authorizing them to work in the U.S. For 1 year, Acosta Ramirez and his wife lived, worked, and sent their 4-year-old son, Santiago, to school in Branson. As the Daily Citizen continues to cover immigration issues and report on the Greene County Jail's contract that leads to hundreds of immigration and customs enforcement ICE detainees being held at the facility daily, Acosta Ramirez and Noroya Romero, once inmates in the jail, agreed to share their story over several interviews this year to give the community a better understanding of the personal impact of changes at the federal and local level. In early 2026, Acosta Ramirez was arrested during a traffic stop and accused of being in the country illegally. He called his wife and instructed her to bring their documents to the jail. Upon arriving, he said his wife was also arrested. A reporter initially spoke to Arroyo Romero in February 2026 while she was detained in the Greene County Jail. The Daily Citizen attempted to obtain her immigration records from the federal government. Although most of the records requests were denied, the Daily Citizen received Christian County's arrest reports for both the husband and wife. Acosta Ramirez and his mother, who is still living in the Branson area, spoke to a reporter in July and August. What the arrest reports say. At 5:40 a.m. on January 2nd, Sheriff Brad Cole stopped Acosta Ramirez near the 29-mile marker on Highway 65, according to an arrest report. Acosta Ramirez was speeding at 90 miles per hour, the report states. The report further says that during the traffic stop, the sheriff discovered Acosta had entered the country illegally prior to requesting asylum. He was booked into the Christian County Jail on an immigration hold, according to the document. An arrest report for Arroyo Romero indicates that she was booked into the Christian County Jail on a hold for ICE around 8:30 a.m. that same day with no other charges. They were both later transferred to the Greene County Jail. Acosta Ramirez denied he had been speeding and claimed he was unaware he had been cited for a traffic violation. He said he stopped to get gas on his way to work that morning and noticed an officer following him when he re-entered the highway. When I got there, I saw police around, but it didn't worry me because I knew I had all my papers, he said through an interpreter. From the minute I got on 65, I noticed police. During the traffic stop, Acosta Ramirez said a Spanish-speaking officer helped him communicate with the sheriff. He was questioned about how he entered the country and responded that he sought asylum in 2022 and was authorized to work in the U.S. Then he was arrested, he said. Acosta Ramirez still believed there was a misunderstanding and that he would be released after officers looked at his documents. Through an interpreter, he explained this is why he felt safe to call his wife and instruct her to bring the documents to the sheriff's office. However, when Arroyo Romero arrived with the documents, she was also placed under arrest. I asked him, "What have we done? Why are you doing this? Have we committed a crime?" And they said, "No, but you're under arrest." Arroyo Romero said through an interpreter in February. The couple was unaware of a Trump administration move to end temporary protected status for migrants from more than a dozen countries, including Venezuela, which likely impacted their asylum cases. Reached by phone on August 7th, the sheriff said he did not remember interacting with Acosta Ramirez or the January 2nd, 2026 traffic stop that caused the family to be deported after almost 3.5 years in the U.S. If they were stopped on a traffic stop, then it would have been something where they committed a traffic violation, Cole said. Online court records show Cole ticketed Acosta Ramirez for speeding 20 to 25 miles per hour over the speed limit. A warrant was issued for his arrest on March 26th after he failed to appear at his scheduled court date. At that point, Acosta Ramirez had already been deported. We don't have any choice. After being arrested, Acosta Ramirez spent 6 weeks in the Greene County Jail before his deportation date. Arroyo Romero was detained for 13 weeks. When asked in late February whether the family was fearful of returning to Venezuela, Arroyo Romero said through an interpreter, "Yes, but we don't have any choice." The most stressful part of being detained, Acosta Ramirez said, was being separated from his wife and trying to figure out what would happen to their son. "I don't understand why they separated all of us," he said. According to the U.S. Department of State, Venezuela is facing significant human rights issues with credible reports of unlawful or arbitrary killings and torture in addition to other crimes against humanity. Residents are fleeing en masse due to rampant violence, inflation, and shortages of food and medicine, according to a July report by the UN Refugee Agency. The U.S. government in 2021 granted migrants from Venezuela temporary protected status, according to a release from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, providing Venezuelan immigrants with work permits and preventing them from being deported to their home country due to the extraordinary conditions. Since March 2025, the Trump administration has revoked or announced a plan to terminate TPS for over 1 million people in the U.S., according to a report from the American Immigration Council. This includes about 600,000 people who immigrated here from Venezuela. Arroyo Romero was held up in jail for months while trying to ensure that their son, Santiago, would not be left behind in the U.S. Santiago is on the autism spectrum, and his grandmother in Branson was struggling to care for him full-time, Arroyo Romero said. While Santiago's parents were in jail, Ozark resident Denise Myers, an English and Spanish speaking school teacher, learned about the situation and stepped in to help. A mutual friend asked Myers to be a compassionate presence with them in a really hard time, she said. Myers ultimately found a local family who was able to temporarily care for Santiago. The 4-year-old initially had a court date set for late 2027, she said. At this point, through the help of really amazing people that have volunteered through different organizations, we've been able to get that expedited, and so he can be reunited with his mom, hopefully very soon, and they can be deported together, Myers said in early March. Later that month, Arroyo Romero and Santiago were reunited and deported together, joining Acosta Ramirez back in Venezuela. The month-long trek to Texas. In 2022, Arroyo Romero, Acosta Ramirez, Santiago, and Acosta Ramirez's parents made their way from Ecuador, where they had fled from Venezuela, to Eagle Pass, Texas. The family rode in train cars during most of the journey, Acosta Ramirez said, but in Panama they were forced to walk for 7 or 8 days. They made their way through the Darien Gap, the roadless, rugged rainforest that bridges South and North America. Santiago became ill, and Acosta Ramirez's mother injured her knee. It was really hard, Acosta Ramirez said. The hardest days were still ahead. Acosta Ramirez said the toughest stretch of the voyage was the trek through Mexico, where his family was fearful of the police. In August 2022, the family reached the U.S.-Mexico border. They faced the fast-moving Rio Grande River, fed by 3 days of rain. They managed to get across safely with help from Border Patrol agents on the other side, Acosta Ramirez said. On U.S. soil, they were apprehended for crossing the border improperly and briefly detained. Federal agents gave them specific instructions. They needed to apply for asylum first, then receive Social Security numbers and work visas. A judge needed to hear their asylum case and determine whether it would be accepted. Acosta Ramirez and Arroyo Romero said their family complied with these instructions. In 2022, NPR reported that a wave of migrants seeking asylum from Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua had begun crossing at the border at Eagle Pass, a community of about 28,000 residents. Border Patrol recorded more than 50,000 border apprehensions in the Del Rio sector, which includes Eagle Pass, in August 2022, according to the report, settling for a year in the Ozarks. Acosta Ramirez and his family got in touch with a couple of relatives who were living in the U.S. once they were released from detention in Texas. At first, they moved to Miami, where Acosta Ramirez said they wound up staying on the streets for about 3 weeks. Acosta Ramirez's mother found work in Branson through a family connection, leading him to move to Missouri with his wife and son. They lived in Branson for 1 year, he said. Acosta Ramirez was working as an Uber driver while Arroyo Romero worked at a hotel. So many of the families I know that are being effective believe they are doing what they can to be here in the right way, contributing in the right way, trying to learn what to do, whether that's through asylum or anything, whatever documentations are needed, said Myers. They were here in good faith that it was a safety net for their family to come out of an area where there was a great oppression and justice was not sure, to a country where it seemed that there would be a lot better place for their family to land, which is the story of any other family I've talked to that has been affected by this. We followed the process that was asked of us. The U.S. government's complicated and increasingly less accessible procedures for border entry have prompted many migrant families to enter through dangerous and unsanctioned routes. Since 2016, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, CBP, officers have at times blocked ports of entry at the southern border to the U.S. through a practice called metering, allowing only a limited number of asylum seekers through, according to a July 2026 report by the American Immigration Council. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld metering as a lawful practice in a June 2026 ruling, determining that CBP officers have no obligation to inspect people who approach ports of entry, and that people seeking asylum at ports of entry do not necessarily have a right to access that process. The American Immigration Council argues that turning people away at ports of entry undermines orderly immigration practices by forcing migrants to remain in a dangerous limbo, often in Mexican border towns, for indeterminate amounts of time. However, federal law 8 U.S.C. 1158 states that any migrant who arrives in the U.S., whether by a designated port of arrival or elsewhere, may apply for asylum in accordance with the applicable laws. Improper entry is a misdemeanor offense punishable by up to 6 months in prison or a fine of $50 to $250 on the first attempt under U.S. law. Reached by phone on July 28th, Acosta Ramirez's mother shared her perspective through an interpreter. The Daily Citizen agreed to grant her anonymity because she still lives in the Branson area and fears being arrested. We follow the process that was asked of us, she said. I don't understand still why they deported Maria Fernanda and Angel. It seems to me that they detained Maria Fernanda and Angel illegally. It really scared my son Angel because he had never done anything illegal to his knowledge. That's why I really believe that a lot of people are being deported unjustly. The family's paper trail. After speaking to a reporter in late February, Aroya Romero provided her consent and signature for the Daily Citizen to obtain her complete immigration case file. The Daily Citizen requested records from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, which holds immigrants' complete case files, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, which holds reports of every documented entry and deportation from the U.S., and ICE, which holds a record of every interaction an immigrant has with federal authorities. The requests to CBP and DHS were denied. In July, ICE responded to the Daily Citizen's request by releasing a 2-page case summary of Aroya Romero's encounters with federal immigration agents. The report states that Aroya Romero entered the country in August 2022 and was apprehended by federal agents. She was found to be an alien present without parole and was subsequently detained and released on parole. A brief narrative in the case summary states that a juvenile and family management, transportation, and compliance unit took custody of the entire family at the Eagle Pass Border Patrol Station on August 19, 2022, and transported them to an NGO called Mission Border Hope. The family members were released together and paroled, it states. Aroya Romero was apprehended again in October 2024 and January 2026, according to the report. The document indicates that federal authorities never issued or served Aroya Romero any charging documents related to her case. She had no aggravated felony convictions, and she was cleared for voluntary departure before leaving the country. According to Aroya Romero, she and her husband had work visas that were valid until 2029. Although the Daily Citizen was not able to obtain a record of this from the government, Acosta Ramirez's mother provided a photo that appears to show Aroya Romero's work visa with an expiration date of January 15, 2029, as well as a separate photo that appears to show Santiago's Social Security card. Local law enforcement's role in deportation. A growing number of law enforcement agencies in southwest Missouri and across the U.S. are receiving authorization from ICE to interrogate, issue warrants, arrest, and prepare charging documents for people suspected of being in the country illegally through 287G Task Force Model Agreements. Section 287G of the Immigration and Nationality Act has existed since 1996, but it wasn't commonly utilized by local agencies before 2025. President Donald Trump in early 2025 compelled the Secretary of Homeland Security via executive order to equip local and state law enforcement agencies to perform immigration officer functions to the maximum extent permitted by law, citing 287G as a means. Some Springfield area lawmakers have urged local agencies to make use of the program and crack down harder on illegal immigration. Most recently, the Nixa Police Department entered a 287G agreement in August. The Christian County Sheriff's Office has participated in the program since last year. The Springfield Police Department and Greene County Sheriff's Office have not followed suit. However, the Greene County Jail began to detain hundreds of people at a time for ICE after entering a contract with the agency in 2024. Christian County Sheriff explains ICE procedures. Cole estimated that CCSO has been arresting about 30 people for ICE each month through its 287G agreement. He provided information about how CCSO proceeds during a traffic stop when a driver is suspected of being in the country illegally. We would initially use the same tools that we would with anybody, Cole said. We would get their name, date of birth, social security number if they have one, and run those through the National Crime Information Center database and look that way. Now, obviously, if they don't have any kind of identification or anything like that, and they're suspected of being in the country illegally, we'll get all the information that we possibly can get, and we will contact the control center for ICE and have them run the information through their database. It typically takes 5 to 10 minutes for ICE to check its database and give CCSO an answer about a suspect's immigration status.
Cole said. Cole previously told Daily Citizen that the main benefit of the 287G program is the efficiency of being able to handle that immigration enforcement process. In February, he said, "We don't have to wait for ICE to show up at the scene." He added that deputies do not target or track down people suspected of being in the country illegally. There's a lot of misinformation and negative media publicity that law enforcement is doing snatch and grabs, he said. That's not what we're doing.
SBJ, or Business Authority. People you need to know. David Schomburg. His top leadership role at SGF Airport is just taking off. David Schomburg started as Director of Aviation for Springfield Branch and National Airport in late June with numerous tasks on his to-do list for the first month. Moving offices wasn't among them. "I had plenty of irons in the fire and it wasn't a priority to get offices moved," Schomburg said, noting he's currently wearing both the director and the assistant director hats. Schomburg has served as an assistant director of aviation since 2017. Says it was at least 30 days before he started working in the space once occupied by his predecessor, Brian Weller, who announced his retirement earlier this year after 15 years of leading the airport. With the promotion, Schomburg became only the fourth person to serve as aviation director since 1972. Schomburg's salary in the Springfield Airport director's role is $220,000, according to city officials. A national search resulted in 45 applicants. Schomburg was chosen among 3 finalists. Schomburg, a licensed private pilot, has a bachelor's in aviation science from College of the Ozarks. Considering a career in something other than aviation was never much of a likelihood, he said, noting his interest was piqued at an early age. Growing up on Lake of the Ozarks, he frequently watched A-10s, generally known as Warthogs, fly over on their way to the Whitman Air Force Base. Most recently, it's been a busy time for the airport in 2025. More than 1.5 million passengers used the airport, record amount for the third consecutive year. Among recently completed projects the Schomburg helped oversee were a terminal apron expansion project for which $10 million of concrete was poured, and the replacement in fall of 2025 of 5 jet bridges at a cost of $7.6 million. Next up on the docket is roughly $4.4 million flooring replacement project. He's 98% confident it will wrap up by September 21st. In the grand scheme of things, it wasn't the largest dollar amount project that we did, Schomburg said, but probably the most significant that really changes the overall customer experience, whether you're a departing passenger or an arriving passenger. As far as scheduling the ribbon cutting, we have not put a pin in the calendar yet. A replacement for his longtime position has also been sought. The job posting closed August 6th. Interviewers are expected to start by the end of the month, he says. "My hope is to start bringing someone in my old chair over the next 60 days. Prior to arriving in Springfield, Schomburg's aviation role included airport manager of Denton Enterprise Airport in Texas, assistant manager of airport operations at Kansas City International Airport. In charge of a full-time staff of 120 at the Springfield Airport, Schomburg says his leadership style is collaborative and empathetic, but extremely mission-focused. "I bring the boot on the ground understanding of what it takes to operate an airport," he says, adding his career started in entry-level operational roles. The mission focus will come in handy as more projects are in store for the airport in the next year. Those include work this fall on a new T-hangar development estimated at roughly $7.5 million. And a taxiway intersection reconstruction project. The later job was likely exceeding $20 million. He says should begin in spring of 2027. "I want to get past the winter season before I get into shutting major portions of the airfield down." Coming to the Ozarks nearly a decade ago from the Dallas area, Schomburg says he and his wife Blythe had a desire to return to Missouri as they began having children. "They wanted a community that afforded us a lot of opportunities and our kids opportunities for growth and diversification and culture, but with the same small town feeling and values that we had both grown up with. Springfield just hits the sweet spot for us." CU seeks council approval for operating budget by SBG staff. The Board of Public Utilities, which governs city utilities of Springfield, has approved the utilities' fiscal 2027 operating budget. This budget includes up to $874 million in expenditures, according to the news release. The FY 2027 budget supports city utilities' ongoing commitment to replacing aging infrastructure and ensuring the safety, reliability, and overall value of essential services. CU's official says in the release. Budgeted expenditures include the full fuel cost, capital improvements, and operational expenses across all utility systems. The budget moves to Springfield City Council for the first read on September 8th, following by a second reading and potential adoption on September 21st. According to the budget documents, revenue is projected at $739 million for the fiscal year, which compares with $806 million in projected revenue in 2026 and $947 million in 2025. Financing proceeds have dropped down to zero in the upcoming fiscal year. In the new release, CU officials said the utility is seeking approval for a water rate increase. To maintain clean and reliable water services, the average customer will have to pay about $3.25 per mouth if adopted by council. The proposed adjustment would generate approximately $16.8 million per year once fully implemented. Inflation has outpaced CU's water rates, officials said. According to the release, CU is also asking for approval of a transmission cost adjustment. The TCA would allow the Board of Public Utilities pass through the actual cost of regional transmission system improvements based on 1 year of estimates rather than multi-layer projections.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Records. Denny's to open second Springfield restaurant and 4 more wings, etc. by Ryan Collins. Records filed with the City of Springfield indicate Denny's restaurant aims to open a second Springfield diner on North Glenstone Avenue in the Interstate 44 corridor. The new Denny's will be located at 2651 North Glenstone Avenue, the building which previously housed the restaurant, wings, etc., according to a commercial building permit filed in early July 2026. The permit is pending issuance and has not yet been completed. The description on the building permit reads, previously the building was a wings, etc., and will be converted into a Denny's restaurant. The Daily Citizen called Denny's media relations team on August 20th and left a voicemail asking for comment on the new location in Springfield. In a follow-up email, Colton Grace, corporate communications manager, said he was looking into the timeline to open the new Denny's location in Springfield. As of 10 a.m. August 21st, Grace had not responded with an established timeline to open the new Denny's. The story will be updated when new information is made available. The just over 5,000 square foot property was last sold in July 2026 and was owned by Amani Investments Incorporated, according to Greene County Assessor's Office records. The property was appraised at $1.1 million. Amani Investments was registered to Darrell Brown, Jr. of St. Louis, according to Missouri Secretary of State records. Denny's already opens one Springfield restaurant located at 4760 South Campbell Avenue. There is also a Denny's in Stratford.
Schools police focus on safety for pedestrian school buses. In anticipation of a new year, Springfield Public School District and law enforcement agencies are emphasizing driver safety as school buses and walkers return to the roads. The first day of school is Tuesday, August 25th. Springfield Public Schools have partnered with Springfield Police Department and Greene County Sheriff's Office to raise awareness about watching for pedestrians and driving safety around school buses. Throughout August and September, officers with SPD Traffic Unit will focus on watching for stop arm violations and speeding in school zones. Additionally, the agencies have produced a campaign of public service announcements that will appear on the social media and more. Drivers are not allowed to pass a school bus when its stop arm is extended and its lights are flashing. This is a shared responsibility, said Jim Farrell, SPS Chief of School Police, in a press release. Whether you're a parent, a student, or a driver passing through a school zone, your choices make a difference in keeping children safe. SPF is the second year of a 3-year expansion of its transportation services. The ultimate goal of the plan is to offer busing to more students in middle school and magnet schools. During the second year, more students will be able to get rides to and from SPS choice programs such as Academy of Exploration, Wolf, Academy, and more. SPS has contracted with Effort Driven to pick up students in more remote rural areas in order to make its school bus routes more efficient and streamlined. The department operates 104 buses with drivers who handle 3 tiers of arrival and departure times. Tier 1, 7:20 a.m. ends 2:20 p.m. Tier 2, 8:10 a.m. and ends 3:10 p.m. And Tier 3 starts 9 a.m. and ends at 4 p.m.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Milestone marked. All levels of Healthcare Alliance students attend first day of school on the same campus. By Joe Hadsel. Olivia Brent, a Kickapoo junior, didn't think her first day as a student at Cox College would start with such a large cheering section. Brent and others were greeted by a crowd of about 50 people waving pom-poms, holding signs, and giving high fives. As the students walked into the Alliance for Healthcare Education's campus at 1423 North Jefferson Avenue, they walked across a large message painted on the sidewalk. The future of healthcare starts with you. There are a lot of eyes on us, Brent said. I think they were very supportive, so it was nice to have that support. It's nice to see that everyone was so excited we were there. Monday, August 24th, marked a milestone day for the Healthcare Education Partnership created by Springfield Public Schools, Ozarks Technical Community College, Missouri State University, and Cox Health. For the first time in its history, the Alliance hosted students from all 3 schools on the same campus. The Alliance is completing a $15 million renovation of the Cox College campus. While some projects are not finished, such as second-story classrooms and a cafeteria, most of the work is completed and serving students. Missouri State students started attending the campus last week because that school's first day of classes was on August 17th. Ozarks Tech started Monday, and SPS is slated to start Tuesday. Because high school students attend through Ozarks Tech's middle college program, their first day was Monday. The Alliance's board of directors and others felt the weight of that milestone on Monday as they watched students from all 3 schools and several other schools across the region arrive for classes. Provost Aaron Light of Ozarks Tech said that the Alliance expands on a type of collaboration that leads to more student success. Now, the really cool thing is that you're going to have high school students, 2-year students, and 4-year students all at the same campus at the same time, Light said. That part is what helps the success because they can see that progression of education. The program has been working with students separately over the last 2 years. Its first Class 0 cohort graduated in May. The project was funded by a $15 million budget allocation approved by former Governor Mike Parson. MSU President Richard B. Williams said stakeholders hope future state investments will follow as lawmakers see the value of the Alliance. We keep demonstrating exactly what we did here together, that higher education has a purpose, Williams said. It starts at K through 12 and goes up all the way. They wouldn't have funded this if they didn't believe in that. So our job is to show that what we're working on our campuses is creating a better tomorrow, improving economic development. Light added that the Alliance is at heart a workforce development project for an industry in strong need of workers. In a nutshell, the Alliance has formalized course instruction that allows students to earn certifications more quickly and more affordably by using dual credit arrangements. While a student can enter the program at any age, it offers a full pathway for a high school student to enter the industry. Through the SPS Choice program, high school juniors can enroll in a 2-year program that goes through Ozarks Tech's middle college. For high schoolers, the Alliance curriculum offers up to 60 hours of hands-on experience and job shadowing alongside working professionals, while students also earn their high school diploma. Through Ozarks Tech, students in the middle college can earn certification as a nursing assistant, allowing them to start working professionally at area hospitals and earn an associate's degree in nursing. From there, students can begin exploring directions such as rehabilitation or imaging. Through MSU, students can begin working on a bachelor's degree in nursing and eventually a master's degree. The pipeline it creates also benefits students through saving money on college expenses. Board President Rob Fulp said that it gives hope to high school students wondering how they can afford college. It gives them hope because the mission for young students who come to the Alliance and receive a degree and leave here with a job and no student loans, Fulp said. That's what this is all about. I think it will be exciting in 10 years to see graduates of our program out in the workforce. About 650 students are now attending classes on the campus. Several of those are from new partner schools, with high school students from Republican Bolivar attending Charles
Charles Fagan is a junior at Bolivar High School, and he's grateful he can board a school bus that brings him to the program. Fagan got interested after hearing about the program at high school. Citizens Memorial Hospital joined the alliance earlier last year. Springfield Public Schools Superintendent Granita Lathan said it will be important to keep expanding that reach among high school students. She said they were grateful for all the students and parents who have taken a gamble on the program so far. While its associate and bachelor programs fill up quickly because of their high demand, the slots for high school students do not fill as quickly. Lathan said that the Alliance will work harder to raise awareness of the program among younger students. We need to continue to introduce healthcare education at the middle grades so that our students are prepared to move into the program at high school, Lathan said. It starts before they enter ninth grade, so that's our focus over the next several years, to build up the awareness of this. As the campus gets closer to completion, it will become an even more effective recruitment tool. But now that students are at all three levels are on the same campus, recruitment of high schoolers will get easier, said Executive Director Selena Goodnight. Now people can really see the building, and we'll really look to see that be able to welcome significantly more high school students in addition to our other programs, Goodnight said. But after that, it's regionalization. The Alliance is meant to serve the entire region, which surpasses people who can physically get to this building.
Off-price outdoor company Sierra plans for a Springfield store at the Primrose Marketplace. Sierra, an off-price retailer known for selling brand name outdoor gear, apparel, footwear, and other goods, aims to plan its first store in Springfield in the Primrose Marketplace, according to city records. Permits and plans filed with the city of Springfield indicate Sierra will take over the property located at 3370 South Glenstone Ave, previously occupied by Joanne Fabrics. The building permit was filed on August 19 and has not yet been approved by the city. In the building's project description, the plan includes interior demolition to connect the space that formerly housed Joanne to an adjacent retail space. The records also indicate replacing the existing storefront and new interior partitions. In the plans filed with the city, construction is proposed to start October 12, 2026 and end February 1st, 2027. TJ Maxx is located at 3350 South Glenstone with two units, 3358 and 3362, between that store and the proposed Sierra store. Both those units are vacant at this time. Sierra's representative did not immediately respond to a request for the comment on the Springfield plans. The project has declared a valuation of $1.65 million according to the building project. There are detailed drawings filed as part of the plans that show the site plan for Primrose Marketplace Sierra, with the plans stating that stores will occupy just over 17,000 square foot. Sierra, formerly called Sierra Trading Post, has been on a growth spurt in recent years. The company was acquired by TJX, the parent company of brands like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and HomeGoods, in 2012 and has since grown to more than 150 stores. The company made its debut in 1986, meaning Sierra is celebrating a 40-year run as it plants its foot in Springfield for the first time. Sierra specializes in outdoor gear and apparel, with the company website highlighting hiking, camping, water sports, and running and ski and snow. On the About Us page of the website, the company says you can score all your gear you need at prices generally 20 to 60% less than departments and specialty store prices. TJX already owns two other companies leasing space in Primrose Marketplace, Marshalls and TJ Maxx. The Primrose Marketplace is owned by G&I 9 Primrose Marketplace LLC. According to the Greene County Assessor's Office records, the 215,000 square foot property was last sold in 2018 and was appraised at $19.3 million. Ohio-based Chase Properties lists the Primrose Marketplace in its portfolio according to its website. Jeff Dixon, property manager for the Primrose Marketplace, listed on Chase Properties' website, did not immediately respond to our request for comment on Sierra's plans for renovating the property.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Meet the conservative strategist working to upend Missouri Republican politics. by Jason Hancock, Missouri Independent, Camdenton. Polls have been open a few hours on primary day in August 2022 when Sophia Shore called her dad with a problem. She'd spent the summer running a long shot campaign for Jill Carter, a family friend, challenging the incumbent Republican state senator with vastly more money and nearly every advantage Missouri politics could offer. Shore, that in her mid-20s was nearly broke. "You're probably going to need to put some money in my account," she remembers telling her dad. If Carter lost, Shore figured she would spend a few weeks at her old job waiting tables at a waterfront restaurant at Lake of the Ozarks called Shorty Pants until she got back on her feet. 3 days out, a state representative called Shore to tell her she'd done a good job but was still about 10 points behind the incumbent state senator Bill White and should start looking for her next gig. He was wrong. Carter won by just over 4 points. Shore came away from the race with a lesson that would shape the political consulting firm she eventually built. Money and endorsements don't make an election outcome inevitable. Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.